What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of On the Record, the Fat Records fan podcast where we're going album by album, side by side, and roughly chronologically through the whole damn catalog. I'm Alex, that's Ben, that's Josh, and today we're talking about High Standard's Angry Fist. Go through the liner notes, boys. This was released in Japan on May 14th, 1997 by Toys Factory / Pizza of Death, and was released in the US just a couple months later on July 29th, 1997. The band lineup at the time, well, permanent lineup really, was Akihiro Namba on vocals and bass, Ken Yokoyama on guitar and vocals, Akira Sunioka on drums. It was recorded at Motor Studios, produced by Ryan Green and High Standard, and engineered and mixed by Ryan Green. The cover artwork, which is different in Japan and America, but roughly the same, but the American one, which I think is the better one because it's so goofy, was designed by Sergey from Sam I Am.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And if you're not familiar with the cover of this record, which I don't know why you're listening to this if you're not, but it's just a fist with the word punk written on the fist, and the fist is on fire. So that's something.
It kind of looks like a shirt your aunt would buy you.
It is like the least.
It's
It is the least peaceful.
the least punk cover ever.
The only other sort of as usual, honestly, is it seems like Japanese releases of albums tend to have different track listing, like the sequencing is usually different. I'm not sure why though. The only difference between the Japanese and the US is the okay, so yes, the US version lacks a song called Close to Me, but then it has a cover of The Who's The Kids Are All Right that the Japanese version doesn't.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get right into it here. We can start wherever you guys want on side one. Any particular spot you want to start?
Knowing how prolific covers were at this point, I saw Start Today as the opener and was like, are they really going to open with like I thought it was going to be a Gorilla Biscuits cover.
You're looking at the Japanese release, actually, because the U.S. release...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the U.S. release starts with Fighting Fist's Angry Soul, which I think is
much better starting track.
It's a much better lead-off track.
It really is.
Yeah, I don't...
So, as far as Start Today goes, though, I felt like their version... whatchamacallit, basically has the same lyrical topip as the Gorilla Biscuits song.
It does.
Right.
But, well, that's on side 2. So
sorry. Jump in the gun
one for now.
Spotify really fucked me on this one.
Oh, it's because they have both versions on it.
Do they? I didn't even see it on mine. I just saw... Mm-hmm. Oh, damn. The one with Fat Records edition would probably... Jesus Christ. Really kicking off the season in a successful manner. I'm losing my notes. I'm listening to the wrong version of the album.
It's all good. You'll be our Japanese version expert.
I am a tire fire.
I really love how stupid Fighting Fist's Angry Soul is, though.
It's very
I feel like this could totally be the soundtrack to like a montage of Goku like training in a hyperbolic chamber and eating like 30 bowls of food at a time.
I love this idea. Someone make this anime music video happen. I know those were a thing like 20, 25 years ago. If we can somehow bring the anime music video back, I think, Ben, you need to direct this.
I think adaptation. I'm sure I could probably get the pieces of media necessary to make those.
That was such a strange time in the internet when like anime music videos were like, I remember so many just actually like discovering bands that way in a weird sense sometimes. I remember somebody taking like early AFI and setting it to this really crazy horror like sci-fi anime. What? Worked really well. I'm sure a lot of those people are small time filmmakers and stuff now, hopefully, because it was cool.
Either that or creeps. There's
That too.
no in
No gray area.
Anime people. They're a special kind of people. No shade. They're just different. Yeah, the lyrics on this one, the Fighting Fists, is they're really goofy as hell. My favorite lines are he says, "Smiling faces, crying minds, safe way to live in this world. That's okay. Nice idea. I love me. I can say no. I love me. I can say no." It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of normal advice.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the way it's phrased as usual. It just
It really is perfect. I love me. I can say no. I'm
right.
allowed. I've got agency. Oh, I know my value.
But yeah, I mean the song, or really pretty much every song on this record, there's really no subtext to any of these songs. It just kind of is what it is in terms of the lyrics.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. But yeah, I really dig this as a lead off track. I think it's really great. And it I mean I just think it establishes very quickly that this is basically just a continuation of the last record. Like there's not that much of a difference between the two of them. I mean, they were
Yeah.
recorded maybe like a couple years apart, if that. And it just sounds largely the same, but it's not a bad thing. All right, let's just move on to the next track here at "Stop the Time," which I think it's a good track and it's got a solid hook. And I really like the guitar solo that comes in to sort of close out the song. But it's a very, yeah, I like a lot of the songs on this record. It's very like sweet and sentimental, which is so funny to me
Yeah.
for a record called Angry Fist. But there's a whole bunch of these songs on here that are just very, very positive and like about.
Yeah, it's like the archetypal like late 90s punk love song kind of vibe.
Yeah. And I feel like "Stop the Time," it's just about like wanting to stop the time because you're having such like a wonderful moment with somebody.
Yeah.
I feel like it could
Yeah.
either be with it could cut either way. It could be with a romantic partner, which it probably is, but it could also be something about just spending time with your friends.
Yeah.
Sure. Just being young in general, wanting to stop that time and keep everything where it's at.
Right.
I kind of felt like the song was a grower and not a shower. Like it wasn't bad, but like I feel like I'd need to hear it like a lot more for it to really
Yeah.
hook into me.
That's one thing this band has on its side. The whole album is the strength of the melodies on this record are ridiculous. Like you said, it's just a hook fest.
Yeah, they're really, really good at writing melodic hooks. And just like those guitar leads, they have so many like really interesting, fun ones that I think are as good as really any of these bands on the label at the time.
Oh yeah.
Let's move on to "Endless Trip." It's a tour song. We famously are not big on tour songs, but
Yeah, not a lot of meat on
yeah,
the bone for the average person.
it's
Oh, I think it's a great tour song though.
it's one of the
They've
better ones.
done
Yeah,
it really well.
right. Yeah. So I think this one's sort of an exception. Because what's different about it is that most tour songs are really pessimistic, and or just snarky in general. But this one is actually extremely positive. Just about these guys going on tour and having the time of their lives. So that's not that there aren't other songs, other tour songs by other bands that do that, but from the ones that we've covered, most of them are about the bad stuff that happens when you're on tour, but not this one.
Yeah. I appreciate the nod to the cool guy with tattoos driving. He has a thick piercing in his tongue. No reason why, so we just keep on moving, making
Yeah.
music every day.
The one thing about this too is it seems like the song is very aware of how unrelatable the experience is and kind of like bridges
Hmm.
that, whereas I
Yeah,
feel like a lot of tour songs just don't even make an attempt to like, you know, grapple with the fact that like, you know, touring in a band is like extremely unrelatable for most people listening.
Hmm.
yeah. I think those little touches of like the references of the driver and things like that make the whole thing feel way more likable and enjoyable and relatable.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to what is for me. This is probably my favorite song on the record. My Sweet Dog. Um, so I mean, this will always be one of my absolute favorite tracks from the band. It's one of the first couple of songs I ever heard from them, but it is absolutely the reason that I went out and bought one of the albums. So I think I remember, I don't know which Fat Comp it's on, maybe like the fourth one or something like that, um, third or fourth. But I remember like hearing it and just thinking, I was like, okay, now I have to go like find one of these records. And um, I wasn't, I think the first one I bought was Growing Up, um, but I did not regret one bit going out and picking up one of these records. Um, this is, I mean, it's just a song about complaining about his dog shitting on his bed. What's not to like, you know? Um, my favorite line from it is, "Well, what is this noise? What are you crunching? Oh God, it's a high standard CD."
This is a beautifully dumb song. I love
Yeah,
it.
It's yeah. I want to
absolutely.
hate it, but it's the charm level is so ridiculous that it's
Right.
hard not to like it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's just pure silliness, and it's so catchy though. I love the cadence of it. Um, it just gets stuck in my head. Like I've been listening to this record in the past week, and this song doesn't really ever like go out of my head. Like I can just immediately, at any moment in my mind, I can pick up on that bass line, and just it's so catchy. But definitely a fun track. Um, what you guys think of Shy Boy?
I thought it sounded a lot like Lagwagon. Um,
Yeah, I
but
would
I
agree with
also
that. It had a familiarity right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
um, so I thought that a lot of the songs, I guess, as I was listening to this, a lot of the songs in this record would be really great for stage diving.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
Yeah, there's never
and
a slow moment, so you're never gonna get stuck.
I really, really liked "This Is the Heart of a Real Man," but she needed fucking words of love.
Yeah. He's really complaining about it. He's like, "Oh God, why?"
Like, um, this record, like in some way, is like the most like sweet and innocuous like toxic masculinity you could imagine. Like,
But
Yeah,
like, there's such a sense of self assurance, though. Like, I'm a shy boy. I'm a shy boy, but I know myself very well.
yeah. It
It's
also
like, and,
it's so funny too because like you're a shy boy, but you're in a punk band. Like,
right.
how are you shy if you're in this band? It doesn't make any sense to me.
it might be something where like the band puts him in like in a different mode,
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
and so he can kind of get over it. Um,
It's just hard to
and
Yeah.
imagine anybody in this band being shy.
I guess, yeah. Well, like there's people with stuttering problems where if they like act like that do acting, and when they act, like they have zero stuttering problem. Like for some
Oh,
reason, it just goes away.
really?
Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean,
their
look at
whole
Ozzy
brain just.
Osbourne. Like, not maybe not now, but like
Does he
when
have
he
a
was
stuttering problem? I thought that was just from
no,
like
but
drugs
he's
and
got
alcohol.
no. Well, I was gonna say from like alcohol and drug abuse. Like he does have like a shudder to his voice, but when he would go out and sing, you wouldn't hear it.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
It was just one of those like a similar thing.
yeah. They can get that stuff out, I
Yeah.
guess,
The
with
need
less.
to entertain somehow destroys the weird impediment. I don't know.
Well, I think it's more of like a flow state thing, really.
Mm,
Like you get in the zone, which there's a song about that that we'll get into on side two.
yeah. But yeah, this is a solid track. I like the chorus that's trading lines with the backups, and the bridge in the middle of the song is probably my favorite part of it. Um, it's a good track. Let's move on to another very positive, sappy song. My Heart Feels So Free. This is like maybe the only this song has maybe the only moment of the record that kind of like slows down a little bit. It has like a
Yeah.
longer intro to it. Just kind of lets you take a breath. But then it just like jumps right back into it. Yeah, and this one's one of the better ones in my opinion, at least in terms of the music.
Yeah, I like the riffing is really good. And like you said, the tempo change does a lot. 5, 6 songs into this record to give you a chance to relax a little bit because most of this record is so much like foot to the floor, Fat Wreck style punk.
Yeah, there's not, it's another one of those records that there's not a single song that's over 3 minutes, but this is the only one that actually gets close.
Sure, and it's not, and it's. I don't want to make it seem like this is like a filler track or anything.
No.
I do think they do this well. Like and I would love to hear them do this more often too. I think they only do one. There's maybe one other song on the record that's like a slower tempo, but
yeah,
I think they do it really well.
Yeah, it's for the most part their high standards mode of operating is just like let's just go fast.
Yeah, just rip out a 2-minute banger and let's get to the next one.
But yeah, like I said just before, the lyrics, it's just a guy having the best fucking day, and
it truly is.
The repressed Catholic within me I just want to say that's nice.
You're not guilty about anything, man.
And you just keep the joy to yourself sometimes.
You mean to tell me there's nothing you regret?
But yeah, it's a little much in terms of its sappiness, but it's again
it is aggressively positive.
It still works for them because it's just the charming nature that they have of singing in English.
Like they're just so earnest. It's
right.
hard to even get mad at it.
Yeah, you can't really find fault with it. But let's talk about the first of 3 covers, with the last song on side 1, "The Kids Are All Right" by The Who. Which, I mean, it feels like it. Like if you're not really paying attention, it just feels like it fits with the record. Like they're good at making these songs feel like
their take on covers is just doing it as their song. Pretty much, it feels like.
Yeah. Is your cat biting the cords, Ben?
He's scratching at that. He's trying to scratch or pull down the suit again.
It always comes down to budget issues.
It does. He's a prick.
I love getting to make finance jokes when your cat does stuff. It's the best.
So, I listened to the Japanese version, so the notes I had for
okay, so I'm the only one.
Way to wait till now to relay that information. I'm over here feeling like a guilty asshole.
I thought I said it. I'm sorry. So I wrote, "Glad the pace picked back up. Pretty good song. Hope whoever wrote this learned to express a little emotion." That was my review for Close to Me.
Oh my god, that's the best.
Can we apply that to The Kids Are All Right? Probably, right? I did think that the last song, like you guys were praising that slowdown.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was really starting to drag the album at that point.
The sequencing's a little different on the Japanese version, so it comes way later.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, I do think that the sequencing is much better on the Fat Wreck release.
Well, good. I'll have to give that a whirl.
Well, it's mostly all the same songs. It's just like it's just all shuffled.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes it helps though.
I really feel like it does. But as far as this cover goes, it's fine. Like
Yeah,
everybody's like
like I said,
so many bands
they
have
do
covered
covers,
this
and it
song.
just it just their covers come out like a high standard song most of the time, pretty much.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Right. And I didn't really need this song, but it's fine.
There's also way more interesting Who songs I feel like you could cover and do something fun with than that one too. But
like Teenage Wasteland.
well, like even stuff like The Seeker, which has like some weird time changes and stuff like that, I can see them doing something really cool with a song like that.
Yeah. There's I mean, this song has been covered by a whole bunch of bands. Like,
of course, yeah.
But yeah, not my. That's probably my least favorite track on the first side of the record. All right, so that's gonna do it for side one. Let's take a break, and let's just pose a question to the panel here. In the spirit of the album title, have any of you ever been in a fight? Have you ever had to use your angry fist? Bonus points if it was on fire.
Yes, yes and no. No fire. Yes and no, kind of. I once kind of got into a fight, and like the kid just punched me a million times. I just stood there and like did this. I just blocked them all. He was much smaller than me, so like it didn't hurt, but it was still like I was like, what the fuck, man? Like it was like fighting a little Tasmanian devil. And like I had never been in a fight, so I was like, I don't know what to do with this kid. So I just waited until he was tired and didn't stop punching me, and he just kind of left. I did hit a kid in the face with a math book in third grade, though. With like a textbook, like right in the nose, like because he hit me in the stomach with his book bag, and then like took off. So I was like, well, fuck this kid. I'm gonna hit him in the face, and I ran. I had a big math textbook, and I just jumped and like hit him in the face with it, and he dropped like a pile of bricks. Then I ran home so I wouldn't get caught. I didn't get caught either, so that's good.
Oh, I guess he was. He felt that he deserved it, so he didn't tell on you.
I guess. I mean, it was well after school had ended, so I don't even know if there was any teachers left hanging around.
Okay. Ben, you ever been in a fight?
You know, other than as a child, like a fairly small child with like relatives and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Not really. You know, despite this righteous fury that just rises up within me, no, never really. And despite all of the antagonizing things I like to say, I've somehow avoided it, usually by apologizing. It's a good way to get out of a fight, is to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
Lessons learned.
Right. There's only one time that I can think of where, and it technically qualifies because I did like punch the guy back, but I was at a show, and I really hope I haven't like already told this story on this podcast before. But I was at a Dead to Me show at the Mad Hatter, and the first band that played, I don't know who the hell they were. There's some local band, and they had their drummer he was underage, yet he still had a wristband, and he was drinking because his parents were there, and they somehow got him a wristband and were buying him alcohol. But after his band played, he was already drunk while they were playing, but then afterwards he like continued to drink. And I forget who it was that played after them. But this band was playing, and I remember them being pretty good, but like nobody knew who they were, so there was only like a couple people kind of standing around. And this guy felt the need that, because he was drunk, he was like wanting to mosh, but nobody was into it. There was nobody moshing, and he was just running around with a beer in his hand, jumping around, pushing in people. And I'm just like standing there. I'm standing back from the stage. I'm not even near the stage. And his elbow just comes in and hits me right in the side of the head, and he spills beer all over me. And like, it was like one of the few times where I lost it. Like he like really elbowed me right in the head, so it hurt like hell, and it just enraged me for some reason, and I just turned and I ran at him and I swung at him, and like I was mid swing and I was like, oh, I shouldn't do this, and I sort of I started to like pull back, but my elbow still hit him. Like I don't even know where I hit him. I might have hit him like in the chest or something like that. And he got so pissed. He was about to attack me, but thankfully, some of my other friends that were at the show saw what happened, and they just immediately grabbed him. Like I think it was Justin. Justin just like wrapped his arms around.
Oh
Was
yeah,
like, nope.
Justin's like 7 feet tall, so like you're fine.
Yeah. But he was definitely going to like come at me.
Yeah, Justin was like, "Come over here. I'm gonna make you a pie. We'll talk about this." Made him feel better about the whole situation.
Yeah. And then I got thrown out of the show with that guy. And then after that, I think both Chicken and Jack from Dead to Me talked the bouncers into letting me back into the show.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say it's kind of whack you got thrown out there. That was
Right.
largely self-defense, and
Yeah.
it sounds kind of par for the course for drunk fucking idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like just like talking to the bouncers, there's like that was their rule was that anybody who's fighting, it doesn't matter who started it or whatever, like if you're involved, you get thrown out. But
It's some fucking stupid public school shit.
Yeah, that's lazy
Zero
policy.
tolerance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though that kid was
AKA, we
definitely
don't want to do the work to like figure the simple solution out of who was the fucking victim in the situation.
right. Like definitely did point out, it's like, hey, that guy's underage and he's drinking at your bar, which is literally illegal. So,
Which one's gonna get you in more trouble? Me
Right.
elbowing him in the face or him being a
yeah.
shit-faced idiot?
But yeah. The only time I've ever really been in a kind of fight. But yeah. Don't fight. That's stupid.
It's not very fun.
No. All right. Let's move on to side 2. And we're going to start with another cover. This one is Gotta Pull Myself Together by the Nolans, which I was not familiar with this one.
No, I had no idea this was a cover.
Yeah. That's because they did a fantastic job of just making it, again, they have a way of just making it feel like it fits, like it feels like they wrote it or something. But I love I think this is the best of the covers that are on here by far. It's just really bouncy and has like its own sort of identity to it. It doesn't feel as standard of a punk song like what they did with the Who cover, which it just sounds like a straightforward punk song. But this one's a lot catchier. I love the bass, the bass line that they use, and it is a absolutely perfect execution of incorporating cowbell.
Yes, I would agree with that. I feel like it's well underutilized in punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
None of bands bust that out.
Right.
Even if it's pre-mosh part, like bring that back. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't know that it was a cover and just thought that the album was kind of dragging at that point. But I looked up the Nolans, and it's very interesting because they're like an Anglo-Irish girl group with like disco
weird.
music. So you kind of wonder why, but apparently they were very big in Japan. So
there you go.
they have the names are really Irish sounding. Yeah,
Are they?
the women in it: Pauline, Maureen, Anne, Linda, Denise.
Oh yeah,
Bernie.
definitely.
How many people were in this band?
Bernie.
Bernie.
Bernie. All right.
But yeah, that is a very bland, like plain cupcake set of names.
Plain cupcake.
Like just those are the name equivalent of like eating plain yellow cupcake with no icing or anything on it. Like plain cupcake having ass names.
All right, let's move on to Start Today, which again, it's when I first saw it, I was like, oh, wait, I don't remember this being like. I just had that thought that we probably all had. It was like, did they really do a
Yeah.
Gorilla Biscuits cover? And unfortunately, they didn't.
And
But
in Ben and mine's case, we were like, wow, they opened the album with it.
yeah, bold choice.
Does anybody else get like a no use for a name vibe from this song?
Oh, I
said,
felt like
yeah.
it directly pulls from a NoFX track.
Oh, okay.
I heard some Lagwagon too.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, just a general. I kind of feel like this album is almost like a Fat Wreck sampler platter a little bit in like the influences and like some of the songs. So I feel like some songs you get a little bit of Lagwagon. There's like a little no effects vibe here, like a little new fan there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just think that the High Standard fits in with all.
Yeah, they're just like perfect.
All those bands, you know. It's like a perfect thing to be on Fat Wreck. Like it didn't belong anywhere else. It only belongs on this label.
It definitely would have been like kind of a curious choice. I feel like on almost any other label, other than like I could see them sitting on like Lookout or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, like we were saying before, Start Today, it is interestingly, it is like has a similar theme to the Gorilla Biscuits song.
Yeah, very much so.
Just stop putting things off and go find your place in the world. Go do
yeah,
some shit.
reframe the situation, bring positive vibes, and make the best of it.
Yeah.
Minus points for not having harmonica in it though.
Yeah, no trumpets either.
I think that's something that's actually missing from this record that was on Growing Up, was the extra instrumentation, which I don't think they have anything like that.
I didn't notice anything other than like you said, the occasional cowbell, but
yeah. But Growing Up had a couple instances where they added some horns and stuff, which was nice. Because it just felt like it works. But
yeah,
there's nothing like that here, unfortunately. All right, what do we think of Sunshine Baby?
I don't know. This one didn't do a whole lot for me.
It's some fat to trim.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice song.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's all right. It's catchy and light. But it's just another very positive kind of sentimental song. But yeah, at this point you just roll with it. It's not hurting anything. And then let's move on to Pathetic Man song, which I think has a really great melody and guitar lead. I
do like, that guitar lead is pretty great.
Yeah. My favorite line from this one is just he just says, "You fucked bad."
Dude, this song is very aggressive lyrically.
It's like it's one of the only ones that actually feels like it fits the album title. It's like you really expect
for sure.
You expect an entire record full of angry songs, and this is one of the only ones that kind of gets there.
It's very like vitriolic.
Yeah. It's just he's talking about watching somebody indulge in their greed and pay a price for it. Sure.
It's very much a song of like you fucked around and found out kind of a thing.
Totally. Any thoughts on it, Ben?
I felt like it was kind of forgettable when I listened to it.
Okay. So let's move on to so I keep saying there's 3 covers, but there's actually 4 because the hidden track.
Speaking of forgettable.
Yeah, you know, have you ever seen The Rain by CCR?
I love CCR, but the cover does nothing for me.
I don't know why all these bands felt like they needed to cover CCR. Like Lagwagon did that. I think
Rancid did it really early on.
Yeah. It's like
I think on the first 7-inch maybe.
Oh right, okay.
I think they did Bad Moon Rising, or that may have been like an outtake, and it also may not have been Rancid. It may have just been a mislabeled Napster MP3.
Lagwagon covered that one. But Yeah, it's fine. I mean, like it's so short, like it's not even 2 minutes
Yeah.
long, so it feels like it again, like it just feels like it fits here either way. You can kind of just, like if you're not paying attention, be like, "Yep, sounds like it belongs."
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't even notice it was a
Right?
cover.
Yeah. Um, let's move on to this is my favorite song on this side of the record, "The Sound of Secret Minds." Um,
Yes.
this yeah, I think this is definitely one of the best tracks on the record.
Absolutely.
It's it this is one of the songs that really feels like a little bit different. It is maybe a little bit slower than some of the other ones. It's got like kind of like a different feel to it. Um, it's got like a sort of like a gentler melody, but it's got a really good chorus. Um, and I really like how they bring in a lot of those oohing backup vocals from earlier in the
Yes,
record.
those backup
Yeah,
singers are
yeah,
great.
it's really good. And then it's got a really good solo towards the end that definitely that really makes me think of Lagwagon.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I do wish this was the closing track, actually. I think it would have been a great
Yeah.
way to kind of coast out of the record.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this should have been the last track.
Well, in context of the Japanese track listing, yes, 100%. It should have ended at the end of that song. There's no need for what came after it.
What? Wait, so I don't know I don't have the Japanese sequencing in front of me. What was after, or like where was it in the Japanese sequencing?
It is the last listed track, and then the Pink Panther theme comes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I forgot about the Pink Panther theme.
Yeah, I don't.
I think that was the only cover I really liked.
Really?
I think it was. I was a sucker for that song, man. It's so dumb.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I have to, I mean, because that's the Pink Panther theme is the hidden track on the Fat Map
Right?
release.
Yeah.
Um, and that's exactly where it belongs, in my opinion. I don't think you needed that in the actual track list anywhere. Because my only thought on the Pink Panther theme is okay, sure, why not? I guess
Right.
just go for it. But the actual last song is "Spread Your Sail," and it's at least energetic, but I still don't feel like it fits.
No, the lyrics are fine. It's very like sink or swimmy. Like fighting against the tide and a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right, which
Oh,
kind
no.
of fits the theme of the record at least.
Sure. Yeah.
See, I thought that this was the song that was all about getting into like the flow state, especially the metaphor of spread your sail, feel God's breath, like the idea that you're kind of just getting into the flow, riding the vibes.
Okay, I mean,
Um,
I read it as these. It's just look through my notes here for a second. Yeah, most of these, a lot like some like in terms of the theme of the record, it feels like at least some of these songs are about sort of fighting for what you want to make out of your life.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of makes sense that High Standard really had such a positive view on it all because they were doing really well, pretty much from the get go. Like this record actually sold like 500,000 copies,
Holy crap.
at least according to the internet. And this I don't even know how long ago that number was sort of like recorded, but that's a lot of records. Like it sold like at least 350,000 copies in Japan by itself.
It's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, I mean that's really good. So the band was doing really really well. So it kind of makes sense that they're so positive here.
Sure.
They're having the time of their lives, is what it seems like anyway. And they're traveling the world and making a living doing what they love. So it makes sense to me that like Spread Your Sail is just sort of like them once again returning to this theme of just like go do what you want to do.
Right.
yeah, but like it's more like about letting yourself get picked up by
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah.
Like especially the if I hesitate, I will hit a rock, sink to the bottom, right? Like one of the
Mm-hmm.
big
Yeah.
things with like that flow state is
Yeah.
if you hesitate for a second, you're out of it, right? Like if you try to actually think about what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you slip. Um,
Right.
which I think then relates to what you guys were talking about too,
Mm-hmm.
though, that like, in order to be this successful, they kind of have to just be riding that wave.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not my favorite way to close out the record, but it's still a decent song. Um,
Yeah.
so, and we already talked about Pink Panther, so that's it for for side 2. Um, so before we wrap up the talk on High Standard, let's talk about some rival records. So this time
Yuki.
around, we got two very different records. It's actually very hard to find Japanese bands that sing in English that play this style of music. There aren't that many of them, um, but there are a couple of records that came out around this time that, or at least like sort of in the vein of High Standard. So the first one we're going to talk about is Kimuri, and the album is Little Playmate. Um, this was released. The only date I could find was the Japanese release, which was June 21st, 1997. And this was
These
on,
came out fairly close.
yeah.
Like this came out between the Japanese release of Angry Fist and
Hmm.
the US release.
Yeah. And this was released by Roadrunner, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's very weird.
Of all labels. Um, so Kimuri, it's ska punk.
Yeah.
It's really like it just makes me think of Less Than Jake more than anything.
See, I got that vibe initially, and I found myself liking it more. Like particularly the choruses. All their choruses feel really big on this record. And I really like that. I feel like
Mhm.
they take really good advantage of having a horn section and making it feel like the horn section is actually there for a valid reason, as opposed to just carrying like a melody line. I
Sure.
feel like the horn section in this band really gets to show off.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, but to me it did feel very Less Than Jake. But
Yeah, I get
or
that
like
for sure.
any 90s ska punk.
Yeah, there's always going to be at least a little bit of that vibe, I feel like.
Yeah. But things like uh I guess even like early Suicide Machines, I can kind of get that vibe from it
Yeah,
a little bit.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, those are. I feel like them and the Suicide Machine band. Suicide. I cannot say that band's name. I feel like them and the Suicide Machines are two bands where, like, if I saw somebody wearing a patch of one in high school, they had a patch of the other one.
Hmm.
A lot of times.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I ever saw a patch of this band ever or a shirt or anything. Like
Could have been homemade for all I know.
I'm pretty sure people that like ska liked this,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
but it was fine.
Yeah. I think the first 3 tracks I think are probably the strongest for me. I think that when I first heard this record back in high school, because like this is actually my first time returning to this record since I probably listened to it in high school. But I don't even know where it was that I heard the song New Generation, but I know I had to have heard it on a comp or something like that.
Yeah.
There's no other way I would have ended up listening to this band. But it's a solid song. Like it's fun. Um, and then I thought the next song, Knocking on the Door, that's like a really like heavy Less Than Jake vibe to it.
Sure.
That I liked. But and then the song Prayer is also pretty solid. It's got like a nice progression. And they've got like a really like good interlude about 3/4 of the way through the song that's got like a excellent melodic hook to it.
Yeah, I think it's a really well
horns.
sequenced record.
Yeah, the horns are really strong on that song in particular, Prayer. And then the only Japanese language song, which is Ado Ichinen, is definitely one of the better tracks as well. That again just feels a lot like Less Than Jake. But
Yeah, that song rips.
yeah. So overall, I'd say it's pretty solid. Like if you like, ska punk from that era, and you
Yeah.
somehow never heard this record, but which I feel like if you really were into that type of stuff, and you still are, you'd probably like this record. But
Yeah, they remind me a lot of Link 82, who are another
Mm.
guy I feel like kind of underappreciated ska band. I
yeah,
feel like there's some similar tones to Link 82, Link 80 as well.
yeah,
Not Link 82.
you you always have to wonder what could have happened with that band in particular, though.
I know, man. It's one of my biggest, saddest like music what ifs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So did the vocalist of Blink 80, did he commit suicide?
He did, yeah. It was he was the son of Danielle Steele, the romance writer.
Really?
Yeah, she wrote a book about him.
Oh wait, okay. I feel like we even had this conversation before.
I'm sure we have, but it's also
Yeah.
probably been like a decade since we've sat down and talked about Link 80 together.
Yeah. So Kamuri, Little Playmate. It's solid if you're into that. It was kind of tough for me to go back to, but there's
I really
some
liked
good
it. I think
songs.
out of the two rival records, it's my favorite of the two.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I dug it. I actually really dug it a lot. I'm pretty happy we dove into it.
Oh, cool. Do you have any more thoughts on it?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Ben?
Yeah, no.
No. All right. Okay. Now let's talk about our last rival record, which is Guitar Wolf, Planet of the Wolves, which I prefer this one between the two rival records. This was released the Japanese release was September 21st, 1997, and then it was released 1 month later in the US in Japan it was by I don't really know exactly how to say the name of the label, but it's a subsidiary of Sony Music. And then it was released in America by Matador. So pretty big labels, honestly, to release a record like this.
I mean, Matador makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any other labels really, other than maybe like Anti or something that like Guitar Wolf would really be like a fit for, because they're such an odd band.
I just mean in terms of like the like I guess the scale of the label.
Yeah, I get
like,
you.
It feels so niche, especially for the time.
Absolutely.
See, I think that they were getting like hyped up in that crowd a lot at the
Really?
time, though.
Oh. Yeah, I don't really know the history of it.
Yeah, I kind of remember. I mean, a bit later, but still not that far off from '97. Like shows, like people that might promote shows of Matador Records bands, referring to them as like the best band ever. Which I don't know if I agree with that, but I've I've seen them once, and live they
Oh, you
are
saw
quite.
them?
Yeah, I saw them much later. I saw them in 2018, I think.
Mm.
And they're kind of like a force to see live.
It seems like
Like
they would be.
it's a very charismatic performance. I mean, listening to the album, maybe this isn't true, but it seemed like there's lots of like improvisation that goes down while they're playing
It definitely
live.
feels like if they get a hair up their butt, they'll kind of take a different route.
Yeah, and they do a good job of like getting the crowd engaged like the entire set.
Oh, I would
So
expect it. Really, like, if you're not familiar with the record, it's definitely more like dirty garage rock and roll.
Very, very, very fuzzy.
Yeah. And I would bet that this might be a live recording. Like, they might not be much of like a whole lot of studio, I guess studio like production work going on in any of these
I
songs.
would probably agree with that
They
sentiment.
probably
Yeah,
just
they seem like the band you just throw into a room and let them play.
Yeah,
Like the
exactly.
magic is them. You know what I mean?
Right. But yeah, there's just like a lot of like squealing feedback and muddy, distorted vocals. They just sound like they're just like crashing through these songs. Um, and that's cool. I like how raw it is. And man, that guy, he just he sounds like a fucking wildcat on the mic. Like he just
It is aggressive. It is wild.
but yeah, there's a bunch of really good songs here. I thought I like the lead-off track, Kawasaki Z2 750 rock and roll. Just such it's like I'm just gonna name this song
Throw
after my
4 darts
motorcycle.
at a board full of words.
Yeah.
Extra coffee machine madness. 1995. Go.
But yeah, like other songs, like I like Planet Heart. The song Jet Love makes me think of Dillinger 4. It's just like it's the vocals and the drums that really do it.
Interesting.
And then I actually like their cover of the Rolling Stones' "I Can't Get No Satisfaction" because it feels
I
like
do
it
like that
belongs
too.
on this record. Like it just feels
Yeah,
like
they very much make it their own in
Yeah.
in an interesting way.
Right. And then the song "Let's Get Hurt" I also really enjoy. I kept like listening to it and thinking, I was like, man, there's something about the guitar hook that reminds me of another song, and I could not figure it out. But it just sounded so familiar to me. But that one's really good too. Yeah, it's like like all these songs are like super short. It does not I guess just a little bit more variation in some regards, but for the most part, they're pretty short songs, and it just kind of blows past pretty quickly. Yeah, it's a fun ride. I guess I should mention the song "Let's Get Hurt" is actually a cover of Teen Generate, which also that's at least a band that we considered talking about, but they didn't really have too many songs in English, so I think we ultimately decided against that one. But that one's fun too to give. So give Teen Generate a listen if you like any of this stuff. Any more thoughts on Planet of the Wolves?
I love this band as a brand. Like it's
Oh
funny
yeah.
because like I've never gotten super into any of the albums particularly, but like you watch the performances, the performances are always amazing. Like the records always sound like, admittedly, it all kind of runs together for me, but like the records sound fucking badass. Like it's a great record I could put on and like do stuff like in the background and enjoy while I'm doing, whatever around the house if I need something that's kind of like a high energy record. But I just love the whole package and like image and brand of this band is just the coolest thing to me. Like it just have such an interesting, because they do like the movies and stuff too. So they've built like a whole world around this band, and it's just such an interesting concept to do something like that.
Yeah, we got the movie. Or did you already?
Yeah,
Am I an idiot?
but like I don't know, man. It's just such a cool way to like do Kiss on a smaller level in a way.
Mhm.
Like you're building the whole world and everything, and like making all this background lore. It's so much they don't have to do, but it makes people I think appreciate the band so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely. I'll definitely agree. They've got a great aesthetic to them. I really like a lot of the artwork that they have for their albums too. They're just cool.
Yeah. Yeah, all their tour posters are always really, really cool. Any kind of merch you see is usually pretty aggressive and wild looking, which is always interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's a simple but kind of cool band name to begin with. Anyway, Guitar Wolf.
Exactly.
It definitely feels like it fits the music. The name of the band fits the music for sure.
Yeah. Accurate descriptor.
Yeah. All right then. That's gonna do it for Rival Records. So to swing back around to High Standard, my final thoughts on Angry Fist is it's pretty much just a continuation of growing up. It feels like they kind of just like rolled right into the writing of these songs and just maybe maybe a little bit more polished, not by much. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I mean it's
still
pretty sonically similar.
it's extremely. And I think Growing Up is stronger. I think it's catchier. Even though this one is still very catchy. There's not really much of a difference between them, but I think that Growing Up probably has the stronger set of songs overall. But I think what drags Angry Fist down a little bit are some of the covers. I don't know if they really
Yeah.
needed to be there. And yeah, there's just maybe a couple other songs that could have been cut, and you really wouldn't have missed it. But it's already not a very long record to begin with, so I feel like it's not a big deal that it's all there.
Yeah.
And it's just like another set of really fun, catchy songs. Any other final thoughts, guys?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it, man.
Yeah, it's it's some fun songs, some goofy covers.
Yeah.
That's what they seem to deliver on.
Yep. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this this episode. Next we will be talking about Snuff with another
More Snuff.
Yeah, more Snuff. There's a lot more Snuff to come.
There's a lot of Snuff.
Yeah.
Very prolific band.
Yeah, extremely. But this one it's got another like crazy song title. It's Potatoes and Melons, Wholesale Prices Straight from the Lockup.
It's so good.
Yeah. And
I wish they would do what the Bronx does, where like it's just that every album, but like melons and potatoes from the lockup 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just over and over again.
Yeah. So that's and honestly, that's Snuff. I think Snuff just gets better as it goes. So look forward to that one in.
Yeah, join us next week for some potatoes and watermelon.
All right. Sounds good.